how did all of your like friends react when you told them?
So I am very fortunate that the group of girlfriends that I was close with in high school, I am still close with to this day. Like we still, even though like we've all, grown up and most of us are like married or have children or, are on like the grown up part of things. I would say that I am very fortunate because those same girls who would come to chemo with me or, throw a bake sale for me or just come to my house for a sleepover while we ate ice cream out of mugs. Like those girls I still am very close with. They were all very supportive. They were all very, and still are, very much like rocks in my life. And I think at the time, you don't like being 16. I do feel like I had to grow up faster and come to reality of all of it. And it's hard because they were still kids too. So I didn't want to bog them down with like the heaviness that was my life. And I think for the people that weren't necessarily like my friends, it was very much a mixed reaction. Like I remember going to school and there was one girl who thought that I was lying that I had cancer, like high school drama BS. And I remember in the hallway, like her slamming her locker and being like, "Don't look at me." And I remember I had my biopsy site and I literally pulled my shirt to the side. I was like, "Does this look like I'm lying?" Yeah. And then I distinctly remember there was someone who was not so nice person who just was like, "She has cancer. I don't know why it's a big deal. Like people have diabetes and they're not making it a big deal." And I'm by no means minimizing at what anyone else is going through, because when you're a kid and you're going through something that impacts your life, it's a lot. It's a lot, whether that is migraines, whether that's high blood pressure, whether that is diabetes. But by no means is it a tick for tack on who has it worse. That's like saying like, "Oh, well, you have the good cancer," or like you have the good this. Like when you're a kid and you're going through something that's tough. And I remember after that happened, just being like, this is happening to me, but I'm not minimizing what you're going through. So why are you minimizing what I'm going through?
I was only in treatment for a year, I was only this, like, I always feel like I got lucky with what I got, and I guess that's the opposite to that, right? To what you're talking about, what that kid was saying. But my friends, I had one friend that did come semi-regularly and visit me in the hospital. I don't know what your treatment plans were like, but I would have weeks where I was in the hospital Monday to Friday, which is kind of rough. And I didn't do much except read a lot and watch like YouTube. Because again, I'm just like a 13-year-old kid. Like I'm just like, well, can I watch YouTube? Okay, I'm happy. But I did get support, and I did go back to the summer camp. And, everyone was supportive there. It sucked not being able to, well, I could swim for a little bit, but then I had the G-tube and I couldn't swim, but I still swam with everyone, still hung out. I was just bald and my skin was gray, like, but I felt very supported throughout the whole thing from, everyone around.
My friend group was kind of thrown for a loop for this one because I was diagnosed in end of December, January of 2014. And in October of 2014, my best friend at that time had died of brain cancer. So like right after that, I was diagnosed. And so all of my friends were like still recovering, still like grieving my other friend for passing away. And then I came right after that. And all of us were just like shaken, like, what is going on in the world? Like, is it in the water? Like, what's happening in our friend group that like, is this happening? So like, we were all just kind of like, we don't even know how to cope with this. They did their very best to their part, but we were kids. Like nobody at even like 18-year-old knows how to cope with any of that. your frontal lobe is not developed. Did anybody have people go out of their way to become your friend that was never their friend before?
My hometown is very small. I graduated with 90 people in my class. And living in a small town has its perks, and then it also has its downsides. I will say when I got sick that I did feel like the entire town and my entire high school really rallied for me. And that is something that I will never forget. But I would be lying if I said that there wasn't people who, prior to me being sick or going through what I went through, didn't want to give me the time of day, or were just so high school catty. And then all of a sudden that all tuned down when I was sick. And then it's I went into remission, and it was as if the last 9 months didn't happen. And I think that it's very easy. We had done a podcast in the past on, oh my gosh, I can't think of what it's called now. Essentially it's people who, while you're going through something traumatic, hop on the train. And then as soon as that traumatic event is over, they're they hop off at the next stop. And I feel that's a very common thing. And it very much shows you who's true and blue in your life. And I can say that the people that were there for me at that time, that majority of them are very much still there for me now. My high school would do, and it all started off as a bad joke, because on my way to Hershey, they were canning for Thon. And I was like, hey guys, what if I had cancer? We did Corene's cupcakes, trying to make light of the situation, and haha, jokes on me. So we did do Corene's cupcakes. So once a month in the cafeteria, people would bake things, and they would they would sell it. Then the proceeds would go to a little fund from me, just to help with costs of, going to treatment and things like that. And that was really, really cool. And then I remember it was the local police department, fire department, my high school, teachers, students, they put together a fundraiser, a basketball game. And I didn't know that it was happening until I got there. And I was at the time very I didn't show it, but I was very overwhelmed just with this feeling that you always have people in your corner.
I didn't have anyone that reached out and was oh, I'm going to be your friend now. I did have people, I mentioned the cards that I got. People put their phone numbers down, or if you ever need to talk, you can message me. But nothing ever really came of those conversations, friendship wise. They were, the regular, hey, they were doing well, kind of just a conversation to be uplifting. But I never had, no one that I met new during that time has made it all the way to now. The people that made it to now were the people that were already my friends and my core group. And, I like I said, I had one friend that actually came and visited while I was doing treatments, and he's still my number one. As much as I would like to talk to him more, but he's all about out and about in the world. So, but whenever I can talk to him, we always have, a good time, and we're always, we're tight.
Thank you for listening to Life on Pause, supported by 4 Diamonds. Ideas or suggestions for future episodes? Feel free to share them with us. Make sure you subscribe, or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Join us for the next recording. Until next time.